Celaena awakens to an empty bed, and while she thinks nothing of it, an entire day of isolation leaves her panicked that history is repeating itself. The captain of the guard awakens to find he has been taken hostage by none other than the rebels Celaena has been hunting. And when Aderlin's assassin shows up, she cuts them down mercilessly. It is only when Archer reveals himself and tells Celaena that Nehemia was working with them that she stops, a new fear taking over when she learns Nehemia has been taken by the king for questioning. Desperately, Celaena runs back to the glass castle, only to find Nehemia and her guards murdered in cold blood. Celaena lashes out at everyone around her, including Chaol, and the captain of the guard has to detain and imprison the assassin before she hurts herself and everyone else around her. Far away in Calaculla, the slaves of Ilway mourn their fallen princess.
Hi there, we're BookTok for BookTok with Jac and Amy, your book besties who take the novels you love seriously.
This is Jac.
And I'm Amy.
And we embrace and respect modern fantasy, romance, and romantasy books written by women. And so it is in our nature to analyze these books as we would any other novel we might have dissected in school.
With our combined 13 years of literary academic training, we use our education to analyze and give voice to reasons why you may love or hate today's popular books.
This week, we're discussing chapters 27 through 34 of Sarah J. Maas's second Throne of Glass novel, Crown of Midnight. For a complete list of episodes and chapter breakdowns, be sure to check out our Instagram at the handle BookTok for BookTok.
Before we dive in, let's talk about S.P.I.L.T. Spoilers, perspective and interpretation, language, and themes.
Spoilers. While our discussion is about Throne of Glass, important context from the first 3 novels in this series will be discussed without spoiler warnings. That is specifically Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. This is not a read-along for anyone who hasn't read at least these 3 books, and you will be spoiled from here on out. So please take this as your only spoiler warning. For all other breadcrumbs beyond Heir of Fire and other SJM works, we will keep those to the Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks area at the end of the episode.
Perspective and interpretation. What we discuss in this episode are strictly our personal interpretation of the text. We do not speak for Sarah J. Maas and in no way know her intentions for her books or characters. We also know our listeners have their own personal views and opinions, and we encourage you to share your thoughts with us because every perspective and interpretation is worth exploring.
Language. We try so very hard not to curse, and I feel it. I think this is the episode where we don't curse. However, explicit language does occur. I have faith.
Okay. Themes. We also discuss some heavy subjects throughout the podcast that can include themes of sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death. While we will do our best to give trigger warnings for the darker themes, we will discuss these topics when they are important to the text. Listener discretion is advised.
As always, we love keeping the conversation going because our listeners are so good at finding things we've overlooked or missed completely. You can share your interpretation of the text with us by posting on social media, tagging us in stories, sending us DMs, or submitting to the form on our website. We also post more exclusive content and host live streams for our Patreon supporters. You can find us at patreon.com/BookTok for BookTok. If we think the fallout of Nehemia's death is not earned, then how would we change it?
Purely by that question, we're implying that we don't think it's earned.
I just want to set it up. This is not the most gracious of episodes, I think.
No, we are definitely not gracious. Themes we see in this section include idolization, rage, trauma, and guilt.
Chapter 27 starts, and Celaena's feeling good. She's feeling optimistic, and that is the first sign that something bad is about to happen. Quote, "She lay there for a while, content to daydream, to imagine a time when they could have a whole uninterrupted days with each other." I mean, if there's anything SJM is really good at, that is setting us up for quick setups. She does great overall subs, but these quick setups is so good because, we're feeling optimistic, we're feeling hopeful. Mm-hmm. We want this for Celaena, so we know that something absolutely devastating is about to happen. Because let's crush joy.
Let's crush joy. Now, if you've read enough SJM work, you can tell when she is doing this setup because there are some clear signals things are not peachy keen are not going to be peachy keen. Quote, for a while, content to daydream, to imagine a time when they could have whole interrupted days with each other. When her stomach started growling, she decided it was a sign. Now, food is power. That's my thing. That's my shtick. And so you can say in this moment, Celaena's stomach growling as a warning that her daydreams with Chaol are not where her power lies. Now, is this a stretch? Absolutely, 100%. But we're analyzing it as if it's literature, so I get to say what I want to say.
Yeah, we stretched earlier. All right, we get to stretch however the fuck we want. Oh shit! I damn it. So much for cursing.
My prediction was correct. Now, Celaena being hungry is in character. She's always hungry. At the same time, though, you can't deny the link between her hunger and her need for food constantly and her power and the fact that she is powerful. So for her to wake up, think about Chaol, and then be hungry, to me implies something. This is quickly followed later with, quote, it wasn't that unusual for Chaol to be busy, so she dined alone. Again, another stretch, but we're getting signals that Celaena's strength lies in herself.
I'm impressed that she wasn't spiraling, be like, does he want to break up now? Is that why he's avoiding me? So props to her on there. As Celaena reflects on her days, and she's still in her good mood right now, and she reflects on just how everything has been going, and I want to address the undertone that I see in this quote. She probably needed some rest too, since the word knew she hadn't been getting any sleep this past week. Not that she minded. It's implying that sex equals complacency more than just joy, right? Joy is meant to be punished and joy is meant to be taken away, but sex is meant to be punished. And I think that this really is going to be the thing that's going to make Celaena feel really guilty with Nehemia, because she's like, oh my God, my friend was so sad and depressed and I was just banging it out. And, you can be multifaceted. You can be there and bang it out, like it's okay. But I'm going to choose not to blame SJM for this, actually. I'm going to remove SJM saying that she's sex shaming. Instead, I'm going to say that this is Celaena setting up for resenting Chaol. And she's going to find anything she can to resent him. And sex is going to be a big part of that. In fact, this whole episode is Celaena setting up to blame him and herself and everyone except Nehemia.
Exactly. I mean, SJM is setting this up for maximum pain. That's what this is about. Now, as Celaena goes about her day, SJM pays special attention to how petulant she is acting, especially when it comes to Nehemia. Now, when we look at this in hindsight, knowing what's about to happen, Celaena is just a naive 18-year-old. What is going to hurt about this is that she is going to regret, and we are going to regret for her, what she doesn't do today. Quote, she didn't particularly feel like talking to her friend, Nehemia, and if the princess was foolish enough to think of starting a rebellion, she'd stay well enough away from Nehemia until she came to her senses. The whole play-by-play is just another layer of SJM setting us up for heartbreak.
Yeah. I didn't even I glazed past that in the sense that, like, she would feel guilty that she chose to ignore her friend that day. I mean, this is great heartbreak. She did a wonderful job. The day goes by and Celaena gets worried since she hasn't heard from Chaol and she's a better person than me, thinking that he's not avoiding her. And she begins to, because Celaena has other trauma than abandonment issues. So she's got a different set. That's why she doesn't compare. But what she does do is compare Chaol to Sam. Quote, yet Sam had been her equal in many ways too. And he'd still been caught and tortured by Rorik Farron. Still died the most brutal death she'd ever seen. And if Chaol, she was running now. Like Sam, Chaol was admired by almost everyone. And when they'd taken Sam from her, it hadn't been because of anything Sam had done. No, they'd done it to get at her. So we really need to emphasize, like, at this moment, Chaol equals Sam. Because at a different point, Sam's going to equal Nehemia. So right now, we are getting a direct correlation. And she's freaking out because there is no separation between Chaol and Sam. And I think that's going to put her in the mindset that once once Nehemia dies, it's going to be like a transference of guilt that's already spiraling here. And that's why I think Celaena's going to be more lost into the grief of this death because of Sam.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you said, we see Celaena thinking of Chaol as Sam. And I'm going to even suggest when the Sam factor is transferred to Nehemia, then Chaol becomes Rourke Farron to Nehemia's Sam.
Ooh!
Which I think will explain why Celaena tries to kill Chaol, but we'll get there in a moment.
Oh my God. No, get it now. That was great. I'm excited.
No, I've got other points about it later.
Okay.
When it's more relevant.
All right. Because the situation is so reminiscent of Sam, Celaena begins to step into her old self. Quote, "The killing calm," Arabin Hamel had once called it. Even he had never realized just how calm she could get when she went over the edge. This is important for two reasons. Number one, Celaena has been thinking more and more lately about the honor of Terrasen, right? It's been about like, well, Kale's super honorable. And I guess Terrasen could be honorable too. And maybe Terrasen's worth saving. Instead, now she's stepping into her role as Arabin's protege, and she is losing her identity altogether. By Celaena losing her identity, though, she has to put on an old title, right? So we're moving away from Terrasen. We're going into her old assassin self. Quote, if they wanted Adderlin's assassin, they get her. And word helped them when she arrived. It's funny because like the people that she's going to meet have a literal mask on and she has a metaphorical mask, but her metaphorical mask is so much more scary than theirs. And it creates distance from the reader though, right? SJM is doing this on purpose because the reader is no longer reading Celaena. The reader is reading Adderlin's assassin. And I think that will make it, again, another forgivable act when she goes in and kills all these people. I mean, earlier in the season, you and I were talking, it was one of the episodes, and I was like, well, she's only killed like 2 people. And you're like, well, and all the people that in this moment. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And I think it's done in a way because it's so removed because we're not even going to see her kill people in her perspective.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great point. Now, I think to Jac's point about Celaena, losing one identity and putting another on, there's also continual references to Celaena's iciness. And I've talked about this before. If you go back to episode 2, I basically made a comparison to an ice queen or a snow queen. That association with ice and cold continues here. Now, I started reading Heir of Fire this week and wondered, like, if Celaena's magic is fire, why is she compared to ice or iciness and coldness all the time? And I realized, I think it's because she's in her human form and therefore disconnected from her power because you can't access magic in Adderlin. Quote, an icy, endless rage swept through her, wiping away everything except the plan that she could see with brutal clarity. Now, Celaena, slipping into her assassin, compared to cold, and to your point, Jac, she's creating distance from the Celaena that we know. I think it's important not only for the reader to have that distance, but I think it's also important for us to realize that there's a difference between killing for the king and killing to save people that she loves. I think that's what we're seeing here, right? It's also important for us to recognize that in this moment, while we as readers are gaining distance from Celaena, we also have to understand the difference between these people and the people Celaena's been told to kill before. Celaena has refused to kill people the king has sent her to kill because she feels like the king is morally wrong and that his targets are morally good. In this moment, she's willing to kill because she is morally right and the people who've captured Chaol are morally wrong. And I think that distinction is super important for when Celaena chooses to be violent and to kill.
Yeah.
Now, we have to see this now. We have to understand that mindset now before Nehemia's death. Because without seeing it, we would never understand how and why Celaena is able to torture Grave in future chapters.
Yeah, I mean, Celaena's just the continued removal of herself and her own ideals, her own morality, is just making it a farther distance between her and reality when it comes to Nehemia's death. Because there's just so much in this thought process that good thing I wasn't an editor when this came out and I was too young to be an editor. We switch into Chaol's point of view, and there's no note to this quote. Quote, Chaol didn't know why they'd chain him up. That was just the dumbest. It's the first line in his perspective. And how did no one circle that and be like, because you're a prisoner, dumbass. I don't, yeah, that's all. That's all that note is. So fair. I'm like, what are you doing? Okay. How did that get missed by so many editors? The people that Celaena are fighting are also fighters too. Chaol calls them warriors. I refuse to call them warriors. I feel like it's a big old cop-out when I notice like it's always like the men in books that call the other one warriors. And I think right now it's because Chaol's embarrassed that he got kidnapped. Where he was like, I can tell they're warriors because that's the only way I could get kidnapped. Quote, they all wore long robes and hoods that concealed their masked faces. It's similar to how Celaena's dressed, minus the mask. Celaena doesn't have the mask, but, you know, the metaphorical one. But she's also has that hood and cloak kind of thing going on and ready to kill. And I think this just shows that they're all on even playing fields. And again, by having them be masked, it doesn't count when she kills them. You know, like they're not real people. They're masked men who have taken Chaol. So it's more forgiveness from the reader. For the time that Chaol has been with them and is captured, they use a very familiar tactic. Quote, he'd move only once to relieve himself in the corner, since when he'd asked to use the washroom, they just stared at him. And they'd watched him the entire time, hands on their swords. He tried not to snort. This reminds me so much of Kaltain and soon Celaena when Celaena gets put in the dungeons, where I don't know, it just feels like he's getting more dignity, sort of. Like at least he gets like to go to the corner, even though they're all watching him, but he's a guy, so he can just like, you know, discreetly pee. It's just, yeah. Anyway, I think it's also one of those things where they're trying to be demeaning to him. And I think the part where he almost snorts is entertaining because I feel like that's him trying to get control of the situation. I can't really tell if he's not panicked, but he's not calm. But he's also like he's a little on edge, but he's also not exactly freaking out. And I'm wondering how much of this is like what he's imitated from Celaena and putting on his own mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because I mean, on some level, it's like he doesn't take them seriously, but he's also not armed. So is it a front?
More questions that I have to this night is how is it that none of Chaol's guards of his men have come looking for him? How was he not reported missing? How has no one gone to look for Celaena, being like, hey, he missed like some meetings today?
Yeah.
It's not like we found out this was like Labor Day weekend and he got the day off. You know what I mean? Like it's it's like more questions that I have. Like, is he calm because he thinks his soldiers are coming to get him because he's been gone for 12 hours?
Right. No, it's a great point. While Chaol is trying to figure out who these individuals are, he eventually realizes that they are all waiting for Celaena. As soon as he realizes this, that's when Chaol starts to threaten his captors. You know, never mind that he's still chained up, but whatever. Quote, you hurt her, he said, his voice hoarse from a day without water, and I'll rip you apart with my bare hands. Now, mindset-wise, I will throw Chaol a bone. He and Celaena are kind of on the same page. They're both willing to kill for each other. Like Celaena, Chaol does not have a problem with the idea of killing, which is very different from the start of the book when he was struggling with the fact that he had killed Cain. If it's for Celaena, he has come to the resolution that he is willing to do it. Both Celaena and Chaol are at their own extremes of like, I'm willing to kill for the person I love.
Yeah.
I will just say that those extremes are not equal in extremeness.
I agree. Because he says, I will rip you apart with my bare hands. Really? I don't think he has it in him. Do you know who does torture? Celaena.
Yeah, that's right.
She tortures, what's his face? grave nice and well. And I don't think Chaol knows how to follow up his threats.
I agree. Now, as a reader, seeing both Chaol and Celaena willing to kill for each other, it's super reassuring. You know, these are our protagonists. They're in love. They're going to win the day. And that just adds to how fucked up things are going to get.
God. I was listening to editing an old episode, and I was like, I'm going to crack some champagne when Nehemia dies.
I mean, we do have champagne. We should have added that to one of our things.
We drank a lot last night, so. Although no hangover, just really tired. The last note for this chapter, Chaol tells the rebels that they are fucked. And I wrote even fucked in my own notes. I stood no chance. And they laugh it off. And they're like, oh, what are you going to do about it? And he was like, she's going to come get me. Watch out, my girlfriend's going to come kick your ass. And then the Chaol says, like, I wasn't talking about me. And then the captor goes, she's just one girl. At least Chaol knows that his girl's going to fuck shit up again. My notes are... Woo!
No hope.
No hope. I'm the real Star Wars. New hope. No hope. Oh, God. We went to a Star Wars bar. Everything is weird. Anyway, there's this that, if you're going to belittle someone, you're going to belittle a woman, it's always when they call you a girl. It's always girl. It's always an insult. Chapter 28 starts, and Celaena is on her way to save Chaol, and we've thoroughly established that this is not a Celaena that the readers are familiar with. Quote, her rage took her to a place where she only knew 3 things: that Chaol had been taken from her, that she was a weapon forged to end lives, and that if Chaol was hurt, no one was going to walk out of that warehouse. I wonder how much of her own reaction, anger towards Chaol is that she's still stuck in this mental killer state, like killer mind state. I mean, it's such a horrible combination of everything, right? Like, she's freaking out that it's happening again, right? Oh my God, this is just like Sam. But then it's also, has to compartmentalize and go to like a weird dark place. And I don't think that's the kind of thing that you can come out of. And in many ways, you can see a lot of clues that she is Fae in this chapter, in this whole description. And we're going to get a lot more of that, of how fast she runs, of how she moves, of how she snarls. And again, her clear mind is being removed and taken away here. Our girl is ready for battle, and there's a lot of symbolism. Quote, she'd taken every weapon she could fit onto her, including Chaol's sword, which was strapped across her back with a second sword of her own, the 2 hilts within easy reach over her shoulders. From there down, she was a living armory. There's something about the 2 swords working together. Like, that's also the sword that he was like, hey, you should use my sword to fight Cain. And then Nehemia was like, or you use a wooden stick. And she used the wooden stick. So that the sword has a lot of meaning because it's his family sword. And, here they are coming together, and this will be like the last time that they essentially come together. And I just also like that she's wearing the family sword, because just chapters before he was like, oh, my dad would so freak out if he found out that I was with Aderlin's assassin. And it's like, hey, Aderlin's assassin is using the family sword to save your son.
Yeah, disgrace, dishonor upon your family.
Dishonor to you, dishonor your cow.
It is also very symbolic in this moment that she has both a sword of her own as well as Chaol's family sword, because they are both aligned. She's going to later abandon that sword when she runs back to the palace. And that is so symbolic of the separation that's about to take place between Celaena and Chaol as well.
Oh my God, Amy, your notes today.
I know.
Wow.
It's all SJM. It's not me.
No, it's you.
As Jack said earlier, when Celaena thinks about how armed she is, she calls herself a living armory, as in like a place that stores weapons. Now, Celaena in this moment is kind of embodying the whole my body is a weapon by having so many weapons strapped to her. The visual is important because she is later going to deconstruct it. And so I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to put a pin in it, and we'll come back.
Body as a weapon thing reminds me of, remember in college I did MMA like all the time. I got like certified at one point. I didn't keep track of like what belt I was. It wasn't about that. I just was like, I'm going to fight a lot. And they're like, here you go. This is like a certification of something. And I was like, awesome. And when they hand it to me, goes, by the way, if you get into a fight, you officially have to say, I know enough MMA, like watch out, I know stuff. Otherwise you could be charged with assault with a deadly weapon. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I was like, I'm a deadly weapon.
My body is a weapon.
I will say 15 years later, not so much.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. I want to highlight some good description on SJM's part. Quote, the usual sounds of the slums greeted her as she approached the enormous 2-story warehouse, half-feral orphans screeching to each other, the splatter of drunks pissing against the buildings, harlots calling out to prospective hires. It's just such a good description. Like, it's so visceral. You can just feel and hear and smell all of it. You don't need to call them harlots. Not really cool with that, but you know, I'm all for it. It's heightened. Very heightened sense of hearing. Faye?
It's also a stark reminder that things aren't pretty outside of the glass castle and all the finer things that Celaena has been surrounded by that have honestly contributed to her complacency. She is descending into real life, and she's not going to be able to get back on that pedestal of like the easy life that she's been hanging out on. When Celaena gets near the warehouse where the rebels are gathered, she's scoping out the situation and sees how beat up Chaol is. Quote, the ice in her gut spread through her veins. Again, we're continuing to see the Ice Queen imagery. And again, it's because it's the exact opposite of her magical power, which she can't access. This is the human side that has survived since emerging from an icy river 10 years ago.
Ooh. It's just kind of like more trauma, right? It's like, do you want other memories of horrible things that happened to you? Let's add some ice.
Well, I think it really, and I'm going to make this comment later, but I think it all comes back down to the night her parents died.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just another...
The way that the way she internalized Sam, the way she's going to internalize Nehemia, it all comes back to
not saving her family.
Yeah.
We get this moment before Celaena that I find to be symbolic again. A lot of symbolism happening here.
Lots of symbolism.
Quote, she tipped her head back and gave the moon a wicked smile. She'd been called Aderlin's assassin for a reason. Dramatic entrances were practically her art form. We talked a lot about the moon representing truth, and while this is actually like a very truthful statement, like she is in fact making a dramatic entrance, she is in fact Aderlin's assassin. But I also want to remind us that we've associated the moon with Elena quite often, and it almost has this sacrilegious feel to it, where she's looking at the moon, smiling at the moon before committing this atrocity. The night is, like we keep talking about, is more than saving Chaol. It's about her not being able to save Sam. And it is wonderful because we aren't even having to make a point, because she says it for us. Quote, she had made a jump like this once before, on the night when her world had been shattered completely. But on that night, Sam had already been dead for days, and she'd leapt through the window of Rurik Farron's house for pure revenge. This time, she wouldn't fail. It's so similar to how Sam died. Like, it's almost like SJM was like, we're going to make this match as closely as possible so that we can get all of these old feelings as surface level as possible, so that once we realize that he's safe, she can project that loss and the panic to Nehemia. And she's hyper focused on all of this because she failed Sam, she failed her parents. She feels like she keeps failing people who die around her.
The fact that she keeps saying Sam kind of disguises the fact that it really does tie to her parents.
Yeah. We're back in Chaol's point of view, and he watches Celaena massacre a bunch of these guys. And, you know, remember before he was like, I will rip you limb from limb. So this is Chaol's point of view of everything. Quote, and at last, After all these months, he saw the lethal predator he'd expected to find in the mines. There was nothing human in her eyes, nothing remotely merciful. It froze his heart. All right, a little hypocritical. Mr. I will rip you apart limb from limb. Mr. Like, I mean, there's also this idea of like, I knew this was going to be you the whole time. Like, I was waiting for this to be you. I knew, like, the true you was going to be there, and I just had to wait for this true you to be there. And, you know, we've always talked about Chaol seeing a very honest and true version of Celaena. That's been, like, our ongoing thing, is that he's the only one who gets her. Except now. Because I think... although even now he still does understand her, of just like, she is not human.
Yeah.
She is extremely, like, she is very much disassociated. It is terrifying. So, you know, even in this moment, it's like, well, you know, he's actually still right. This is terrifying. This is not who you'd want to go to bed with cuddling right now. But my question then ends up becoming, does Chaol view her differently now? And does it really make a difference? And does he love her? Because would he still love her after this? Because hypothetically, let's say Nehemia doesn't die. Would the relationship have been strained? Because right now, it feels like a lid's been taken off of a jar, the kind where all the snakes jump out at you, and you can't put it back together, because right now, like, all of his fears of who he thought she was is now true.
Yep. And, well, so to answer your question, let's also stop and think about the fact that he's the one that has brought it out of her. She is doing this for him. And I'm going to talk about that again in a little bit. But I want to go back to an earlier part of the quote that you didn't read, Jac. Quote, "She was a whirlwind of steel and blood. As he watched her cut through the men as though they were stalks of wheat in a field, it froze his heart." Celaena is a force of nature. She destroys resources, she cuts down men with no effort, and it freezes his heart. I don't know that he would have been able to live with her, knowing that she has instilled enough, whether it's fear, terror, apprehension in him, that it's frozen his heart.
Yeah.
You know, other SJM couples get turned on by this kind of shit. I don't think Chaol.
You bring such a solid point. There's no like, I like the way she's cutting that man up. It's like, oh fuck me, what is going on? Yeah, I think it's a fair point. We'll never know, but it definitely would have altered their relationship quite a bit.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if he would have been able to forgive himself. I think it would have been one of those things where I can't forgive myself that you had to get to that point, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think she would have been also equally upset with the fact that he's like, I always knew you had it in you. And she's like, well, yeah, duh.
It was always there.
And like, you're going to hold that against me?
And it's going to continue to be there.
Right.
I think we embrace the killing calm. I don't think either of us have it in us, that calm. I don't think we'd be chill.
I don't know.
We wouldn't be this cool. I can guarantee that.
Fair.
I think we'd get one, at least for me, I would get one good hit really cool and then be like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Celaena is no longer herself, and honestly, it is freaking fantastic setup for the end of the book. Quote, "She wasn't ready for the bloodletting to end either. She wasn't ready to give in at all. Very fey, very animalistic, very aggressive. We are getting Aelin, right? Like fey Aelin here."
We're also reminded of how this is an art form. So before she jumped, she's like, dramatic entrances are an art form. But here we're also getting another reminder of how this is art. Quote, "There was nothing but metal ringing and the shouts of the injured going down around her, and she was soaring through them, delighting in the feral song that sang through her blood and bones. Death and fighting, as we've seen consistently throughout 2 books, is art to Celaena. And quite frankly, this is an expression of love. This is her creating a masterpiece for Chaol.
Yeah. He should appreciate it more.
Exactly. This is why they can't work. He cannot appreciate the ultimate form of art that she has created.
I feel like the way that he reacts is, one, the most true reaction from him.
Yeah.
And 2 is the most, yep, they could not be endgame.
Yeah, exactly.
This was the most well done part of all of that. In a sea of things that wasn't done well, but we'll get to that. SJM is doing a fantastic job showing us that Celaena is lost in the past, as we keep saying that. Sorry, guys, I'm just reading what I wrote. So, she's redundant past me. And it's not about saving Chaol. It's like every single trauma we can possibly get. So it's like more reminding of her trauma, even as she is killing everyone. Quote, and then that rage, the rage that blurred the events of the night she'd been captured with the events of this night, that made Chaol and Sam face and made Chaol's and Sam's faces bleed together, seizing her so fiercely that she reached for another dagger strapped to her waist. I mean, this can relate to another night where people died, and Celaena has lost all connection with reality. And I agree with something that Amy said, is that Sam was a hyperfixation for her family, and now Chaol's a hyperfixation for Sam. So, and then Nehemia will be a hyperfixation for all of the above.
Exactly. And I think that's important for readers to really realize right now, that Chaol is not the one dominating Celaena's thoughts throughout all of this. It might have started because there was a connection between Chaol and Sam, but it really ultimately becomes about Sam and her parents. That's why it's so easy for Celaena to project Sam onto Chaol and then project it onto Nehemia, because it's always been about Sam or always been about her parents.
Yeah.
Now, this is, Celaena is trying to reclaim the past and change it. That's what's happening right now. But you can't change the past, and life is going to double down and bitch slap her across the face and say, nope, you can't do that.
Woo!
And I think that ultimately is why Nehemia's death is a turning point, not because Nehemia is important, but because for the third time in Celaena's life, someone important died by association to her or her family or her position. And I think it's because it's the third time that's when we see a change in Celaena Sardothien.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to point out when logic doesn't exist, when things aren't earned throughout this entire episode. I have a feeling Amy will be doing the same thing. And the reason why we do this, and the reason why I'm going into this mentally when we're doing this analysis, when you have something that's going to change the whole course of the story, of this book, of this series, it needs to be rock fucking solid. In my opinion, I don't think there should be any gaps for questions. I don't think there should be. I want to be able to walk away from this in 5 books from now and be like, that made perfect sense. Now, maybe some of my things I'm going to point out in book 5, 8, 9, who knows? Well, there's no 9, but they're like, maybe later on there'll be moments of clarity that I just don't remember. But until then, here are some of my sticking points. Archer sets up Chaol to make him look like a bad guy by telling Celaena that Nehemia has been brought in for questioning. Quote, but it's not questioning that they're going to do tonight, is it, Captain? Chaol didn't answer. She didn't care why. Okay, so how does Archer know? Does Archer know about the plan that she's dying? Like, because they really he makes it clear that he knows Nehemia is about to die. And the king was never going to kill Nehemia. He was going to question her. So why is he so, I'm confused. I'm like, does he know that when Celaena leaves, she's going to find a dead Nehemia? And then at that point, are Nehemia and Archer working far later? And, they didn't, because I think it's implied they're like, well, she stopped trusting me and didn't tell me things. Well, it seems like she told you this plan.
Yeah, it is confusing. And, either Nehemia told him or he has some other informant, but we never know who or what that is. Like, it's not linking. There's a missing link in the chain fence.
Also, logistically, we know that Celaena and Nehemia got into an argument the night before. Then from there, Nehemia goes to Elena and says, hey, ho, what should I do? And Elena was like, you know what you got to do? You got to exit out of this earth. And from there on out, they have to then set up this whole like fake assassination thing. And there's just like, it's a short amount of time. You know what I mean? And the whole like questioning is just, yeah, there's a lot of, I have questions to this that I don't know if they're ever answered, but if they are, please reach out to us and tell us, because I need it to make sense. And you can't have something this big in a book and not have it be rock solid.
Yep, I agree. Now, before the chapter ends, now that Celaena has found out that Nehemia is in trouble, quote, Celaena turned to Chaol. His face was stricken and pale. Now, Celaena in this moment is if not registering, she's seeing Chaol's reaction. And we're going to find out later deep down, she knows that he didn't really mean for this to happen. However, in this moment, her anger, her fear, her anguish, her trauma override all that information. But don't worry, I am here to point out the information so that you don't forget where Chaol stands.
Yeah. Chapter 29 starts, and Celaena is now racing back to the palace. The trauma of reliving the past events with Chaol and Sam is now to Nehemia. She just has been running a lot. It's been, I could not. Again, can't run to save you, but I could squat to save you, Amy. That's what I can do. Not a quote. Not again, she told herself with each step, each pound to her heart. Please. The fact that Nehemia is now getting this transference of Sam is, I think, going to be another big part of why Celaena's not going to think too much on who Nehemia is and is going to really idolize her in her own mind. And that's kind of what happens when you lose people in really traumatic ways. Like it takes a long time for you to remember them as they are. And I'll get to that point, but now we're seeing that transference immediately shift to Nehemia. With Nehemia, though, as she races to save her, Celaena's mask is now breaking. She was Adarlan's assassin. She was Celaena Sardothien. She would not fail. The gods owed her. The word owed her. She would not fail Nehemia. We've gone from before she was just Adarlan's assassin, and now Celaena Sardothien has crept in there, and you don't have the same distance that she had with saving Chaol, right? Saving Chaol, it was Adarlan's assassin, that's it. And there was that disassociation. Now we're seeing the layers of armor that Celaena's been building up shedding, and with that, taking on this trauma even more so. Also, it's the idea of failing that makes the betrayal of Nehemia so much worse, right? Like, she's capitalizing on the fact that Celaena's going to feel like she's failed her, because Nehemia didn't just get herself killed. She did it in a way specifically to make Celaena feel like she failed, which again makes me think, how much control did she have? Like, did she help Archer kidnap Chaol to make sure that Celaena would not be in the castle when this happened?
I have theories that I will save for later, but let's all remember that Elena needs either Celaena or Dorian to break.
Yep. I make notes of that too. I'll make a point of that also. There's a little 2-for-1 in here.
Before we get there, though, I want to talk about some of the imagery from the start of the chapter that I think is important symbolically for what is going on for Celaena mentally, especially as we proceed into the second half of this book and then into Heir of Fire. When Celaena starts sprinting to the castle, quote, Celaena hurtled through the city streets, discarding her cloak and heavier weapons as she went, anything to give her additional speed. Now, in many ways, Celaena is disrobing herself. She's disentangling herself from the weapon identity that she put on to save Chaol. She was prepared mentally, physically, for Chaol to be used against her. She was not prepared for Nehemia to be used against her. And I think I want to argue that symbolically, what we're seeing here is Aelin losing her grip on Celaena. Because after this, Celaena can no longer be Celaena.
Yeah.
She's going to look like Celaena. She's going to sound like Celaena, but she is going to start losing her identity. And that's conveyed here in this disrobing, in the letting go of the weapons. And I say that because why else would Chaol start to suspect her of having a different identity? And why would she confirm that different identity by the end of the novel.
Hmm.
If this is not the turning point for the loss of the identity. One last thing before we go into the next chapter. As Celaena is racing, there's some more symbolism in, quote, "A clock began sounding somewhere in the capital, and a lifetime passed between each booming peal." It's ominous, it's threatening, and also, what clock tower booms? The palace
It's like a
clock
bad
tower.
one? I don't know. That's the palace one. Yeah, that one.
The palace one.
Yeah.
The evil one.
You know, evil clocks, they boom.
Yeah,
They do. You're killing it, by the
Take
way.
a sip.
Yeah, no, before we take a sip.
Thank you. I was really feeling myself
yeah,
today.
really, though. All right, now take a sip. We enter chapter 30, which is us actually entering part 2 of this whole book. And part 2 is called The Queen's Arrow. And you get so many options of what Queen's Arrow gets to mean. It could show that Celaena is now a tool, a weapon, you know, that she is now the Elena's arrow. Or it's Nehemia who is the arrow and is killing herself off because she's been commanded to die. And she is Elena's arrow. So many options.
Actually, that's a really good point, because when we think about part 1, that is the king's champion. And that was the identity Celaena had at the start of the novel. So now we're switching to this new, or, you know, the identity that's taken over. And that is basically being controlled by Elena.
Yeah. It's a bad identity to have.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thought that I had was the arrow of Diana. Deanna. Which is, again, from the Throne of Glass novel, the first one. And it's actually a clue that Chaol references back to figure out Celaena's identity.
Yep. Nehemia's death reaffirms everything that Celaena has thought. Quote, "When it had mattered most, Celaena hadn't been there. Nehemia was gone." And this is the journey that will be like her entire thing, right? Is that when she's needed the most, when she needs to do the most. And I just got really sad thinking about her whole story. She's going to give so much, and she's just going to feel like she, you know, when it matters most, when she needs to give the most, she'll constantly feel like she's just not doing enough when she's just doing the best she can.
Which is a lot more than a lot of other people.
I promise you it's more than what I would do. Guaranteed.
Same.
Yeah. I just had a random thought as I was typing this. I remember you were sitting there. You were folding laundry, and I was like, wait a minute, I have a random thought. Oh, wait a minute. I already addressed this random thought.
Yeah, but go ahead and say it again. Because it sets up for what I want to say.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so back to my random thought, which I've been discussing this entire time, is that I wonder if Nehemia has helped Archer set up against Chaol, because A, how would he know about her being questioned? B, she knows that in order for Celaena to be truly devastated, okay, now I have other thoughts. In order for Celaena to be truly devastated, she has to make Celaena feel isolated, which means that she has to get rid of Chaol. And I wonder if she was trying to get them together in order to tear them apart.
That was exactly my point.
Yeah.
Like, why else would Nehemia go to Dorian and say, don't get in the way?
Yeah.
Unless she had an ultimate plan. Like, it was never about making Celaena happy and then her getting jealous of that happiness. It was always about making Celaena happy so that she could make Celaena sad.
I think I make the point about using Dorian and everything in another part too. So I'm just like doubling up on them. Like, I think I have that bullet again later. And it is like, it wasn't about Celaena being happy. It was knowing that at one point, Dorian or Celaena would need to be isolated and would need to feel alone. And in order to do that, you have to remove Chaol. Fuck.
Yeah, for both of them. It just makes, I mean, and I know it's Elena pulling the strings.
But it's Nehemia agreeing.
And doing it and doing the dirty work. Like,
you can say no. That's the thing. Is like,
yeah.
I think what makes it hard is that we see Celaena say no time and time again throughout this entire series when she knows that something is wrong. It doesn't matter if it's destiny. It doesn't matter if there's other things going on. Celaena will and has and can say no. And if we're putting all the pieces together, Nehemia never did.
Yep.
Dorian, in the meantime, like sees Celaena running past him, and he decides to follow her to Nehemia's room. And at this point, Celaena is way more fey than human because she strokes his neck. Quote, her nails were dirty, bloody, cracked, so gruesome against the smooth white cheek of the prince. It's very gender reversal of Snow White almost, where it's like she's like the decrepit, evil person with the old nail with the cracked bloody nails, and down his pearly white skin white cheeks.
It's also a good reminder that she is a predator, like you're saying, Jack. Everything alludes to her feyness, and she's been a predator against the rebels. She is a predator now here in Dorian's presence. She hasn't turned that off. And you know what? Chaol hasn't forgotten that. And he's finally caught up to her.
Yeah. He's just like, bro, I took a horse and she's so fast. She killed so many people. And now she's about to kill my best friend. Yeah. Chaol shows up, and there's something about his voice that I think Celaena is like, here's someone I can attack. And while it might be like, oh, here's a person I can blame, she actually doesn't have that full mentality just yet, but it is something unleashes in her. Quote, she slammed him into the wall. The stinging pain burst from the 4 lines she gouged across his cheek with her nails. It's very meant to be animalistic, right? Because animals have claws, and her nails are going to be repeatedly referenced throughout this chapter and the next chapter. And there's something about, though, that her nails are cracked and bloody, and then they're even more damaging while she scratches him. And we're going into that animalistic territory and not, pretty feminine nails.
Right. Honestly, it's surprising that he doesn't get an infection from the amount of climbing she's done with those cracked and bloody nails.
Much in like bacteria.
This is all I forgot in Heir of Fire. We learn that Celaena's human form is considered her quote unquote animal form. And so even though we have often been attributing the animal side to her feyness, which I think is still true from the Fae perspective, this is her being her animal self.
Yeah. I mean, because if you think about it, who's the one who's doing all of this are humans. Like, they're the animals. They're the ones who set her up to be like this. They're the ones who put this plan into motion.
It's true.
They're the animals. It's us. We're humans. We are the animals. Again, some more animal descriptions. Quote, and then she was snarling like some kind of wild animal as she snapped for his neck. I mean, literally being called a wild animal. And the fact that she's snapping for his neck, like, that's brutal. She is like, I will bite you anywhere and kill you any way I can. And I wonder if this memory is going to be what disturbs Chaol at the very end, because once he sees Celaena in her true Fae form at the end, he's going to be real disturbed for many reasons. But I wonder because at this point, we're going to know in this episode that he starts to question Celaena. Like, he's going to tell Dorian, like, she ran really fast. That's not normal. And now she's snapping at him, and there's this animalistic side to her that when he sees the Fae side of her, I think this is going to be a moment that he's going to think back to.
Yep.
The reality of this version of Celaena really hits Chaol hard. Quote, but the Celaena he knew was gone. The girl he'd imagined as his wife, the girl he'd shared a bed with for the past week, was utterly gone. Her clothes and hands were caked with the blood of the men in the warehouse. It's like more so than it's like, this is so, this is a murder. It's also very much a removal of the feminine, right? He was just calling her the girl that was going to be my wife. The girl I shared a bed with, implying sex, is gone, and now we have an animalistic beast. So all traces of the feminine has been removed.
And therefore all the human as well. I think it also, all of this ties back to that symbolism of Celaena getting rid of her weapons. The weapons, the woman, the girl whose body is a weapon, the girl who loved Chaol they're gone. They've been shed. And instead we have this female warrior beast who ultimately is closer to Aelin, who is not human, and therefore is someone Chaol doesn't know, and I don't think could ever really truly love based on how he's going to react.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if he had time to process, I think he does. He will love her, but he would just need a lot more time to process. And one of our listeners makes a good point later in the questions. Like someone sent a message just saying a reminder of like Chaol was raised with like a racist, horrible, abusive father.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and no matter like, and he's done great on his own, but there's going to have to come with a lot of deconstructing.
Yeah, deprogramming. Yeah. That makes sense. No, I think that's a great point. I think that his first instinct is who could love a beast, you know? However, with time, could he have loved her? I certainly think he loves her in a platonic way by the end of the series. But
at that point, they had broken up. I think if he had thought that there was an opportunity, because I know that ends up being in future books kind of like a where do they leave things off situation. And I know that it's not like the most cordial of moments. I think with Chaol, he has enough honor in him that he has committed himself to her mentally that he would try. Would he be able to succeed? Maybe. I actually am not entirely sure. I think he would because of his honor, but I don't think it would be natural.
And I don't know that Celaena would be happy enough with it.
You know, I have really geared up this entire season of like, nope, they could work it out. End game, totally. And now I'm just like, damn it, this is why they don't work. Doesn't mean I like Rowan.
Yeah. It's fair.
Yeah. Has your opinion changed so far?
No comment.
Comment, ho.
No. I'm only 40% into the book.
Okay. Chaol tries to get through to Celaena. Quote, Celaena, I'm your friend. She stared at him, panting through gritted teeth, her breath coming quicker and quicker before she roared, the sound filling the room, his blood, his world. You will never be my friend. You will always be my enemy. It's very tragic, right? It's, you know, like this feels like one of those lines that SJM knew she wanted to have. It's a very like poignant moment. It's a very intense moment. And I also find it to be an interesting choice of words. Yeah, like they are friends. For the majority of their dynamic, other than this past week, they have been friends, right? But they're also more than friends. I don't know. It just felt like an interesting word choice here. Because I would not go straight for their friends because, but I know they have a history of friendship too. You have thoughts?
Yeah, I do have thoughts. You know, they've been friends longer than they've been fucking. They've only been fucking for a week. And we really have written more swear words down in these notes than most other notes that we've ever written. There's also the fact that they are in front of Dorian and Chaol's fellow guards. And while everyone kind of know what's going on, this is not the place to be like, I love you, when you've never said it before, right?
Yeah.
What else are you supposed to say? They haven't said that they're boyfriend, girlfriend. They haven't
think a good I love you in this moment. Oh, they've sworn themselves. They did a you
not that we've seen on the
they did a you jump, I jump. They did a like, hey, we're gonna leave together.
Okay.
Hey, you guys can't see it. She just eye rolled the fuck out of this right now.
That's easy to say, though.
No, I mean, it's fair. But this is also...
There's been no swapping of blood. A blood vow.
Different levels of commitment. I clearly...
I don't take people at their word.
And that's my problem, is I have. Oh, but you said you wanted kids in marriage? Okay.
I'm sorry. It's not me that said it, but, you know, still sorry.
No, it's all right.
All right, back to it. I also do think on some level, Chaol's got to know, like, this is over between us. We're not anything but friends, if we can even be friends. But before we go into the next chapter, I just want to kind of dwell on the quote, "She roared, the sound filling the room, his blood, his world."
Mm-hmm.
It's very all
Yeah.
consuming. And is it because it's life altering? You know, it still feels very much like he is entranced by her.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what's supposed to be implied here because it's not like he still thinks she's going to be his wife. Is it
I
her magnetism?
no,
Like,
I
I have
think
no
it's like
idea.
I think he did it before this moment. This was his future wife. Like this was the
Yeah.
woman he was going to marry. And so when her words is altering in my mind, I read it as like it was so life altering, his blood, his world,
Mm,
that the life that he was going to have is not going to be it anymore. Like he woke up thinking,
yeah.
Daddy's going to have to figure it out because I'm going to marry her.
Yeah. Not
No,
anymore.
nope. So I'll take a sip. Chapter 31 starts, and Chaol takes an unconscious Celaena to the dungeon because one of the guards was, Celaena's about to stab Chaol, and then Dorian comes in with his magic hand, stops Celaena. Celaena hisses at Dorian, and no one's catching the fact that she like looks up at Dorian and goes, like no one, yeah, like it's described as like she looks up and goes at him, and then Dorian was like, I really hope no one notices that she took her entire focus off of the man she's trying to kill, looked at me and hissed. I hope no one caught that.
Yeah, seriously.
And then meanwhile, poor guard over there was like, you all are so stupid. Let me take care of this, and just knocks her out. So that's where we are. And Chaol has carrying her unconscious body to the dungeons. Quote, he tried not to look at Kaltain's curious, half-mad face as... Sorry.
By the way, this is Dorian's point of view.
Oh, right. Editor, you can keep all that in. Quote, he tried not to look at Kaltain's curious, half-mad face as Chaol laid Celaena in the cell beside hers. There's something that's frustrating and also very poetic about this is the fact that the two women who are in here, who are considered to be mad, who have considered to have gone feral, are the two women that are going to play a big part in destiny, in everything that's about to go down. And all the men get to go live up top and are free and get to live like nothing's happened. And then the innocent women have been trapped in here because they have played into the fate of others, essentially. And it's poetic and it's annoying.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Poetically annoying. I feel like Chaol is remembering events differently. Personally, I had to double check this moment here. And I'm trying to decide if I blame Chaol for coming up with a reason to make things worse, or if I'm coming up with bad writing. Essentially, Chaol thinks about how, quote, the king wanted the princess questioned and told Chaol to keep Celaena away tonight. The king did not do that. The king said, hey, don't let us be interrupted. And then there's silence, which Chaol took to mean also Celaena. And don't get me wrong, he probably did mean don't let Celaena intrude, but at the same time, just getting instructions of don't let anyone interrupt is like, that's pretty standard. I'm in a meeting, don't interrupt.
Yeah.
But I think it's, again, I'm not going to use it as bad writing. I'm going to use it as Chaol just having anything to punish himself. Because right now he is in full punishing himself mode.
Which we all do when we feel guilty, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because I don't think he has anything to feel really too guilty on here, because he didn't say that Nehemia was going to be questioned. I understand why he didn't, because he felt like it was a trick to see if he would tell Celaena. And honestly, being questioned is one of the most non-threatening things that you could do. I mean, it's not like he was told, bring her to the dungeon. It was, we're going to go over here. And even Dorian at one point says he knew that that the dad was going to question Nehemia. Or did he or did he not? No, he did not.
He says that he was at dinner with his dad.
Yeah, it's confusing. Anyway, so we're with Celaena, and she is depressed and broken in the dungeon. Quote, she smiled bitterly as her eyes opened. It was always the same story. The same loss. That sentiment, that feeling, I will never forgive Elena for that. I will
I
be
agree.
bitter to that ghostly bitch forever.
Fuck Elena.
Fuck Elena.
Before that quote, there's this moment where Celaena thinks, quote, she was living the same story again and again. The night she'd been captured, she'd also snapped and come so close to killing the person she most wanted to destroy before someone knocked her out and she awoke in a rotting dungeon. Now, this is where I make my Rourke Farron point. There's so much irony, right? Because Celaena starts the evening thinking Chaol and Sam are the same.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go save him. But by the end of the night, Chaol ends up being her captor.
Mm-hmm.
Who was her captor last time? It was Rourke Farron. So Chaol has gone from being Sam's replacement to being Rourke Farron's replacement. And that's why she was so vicious in her attack towards Chaol, because it shows how Chaol is no longer Sam. Chaol is a villain and the one who ultimately is responsible for Celaena's friend's death, aka Nehemia in this case. Quote, she hoped the 4 scratches scarred. She hoped she would never see him again. If she did, she'd kill him. It is a complete 180 from the way she woke up a day before.
Yeah.
24 hours ago, she woke up loving life, thinking about a future with Chaol. And now she's like, I'm going to fucking kill him. It's tragic.
It's so tragic. But also, she hopes that it scars. So does Chaol. Chaol's going to think, I hope it scars too.
Yeah. Yep.
It is a perfectly heartbreaking moment. Like, it is great. I just have notes. I'm going to question some of the logic that is happening because I wonder if it is all around enough. Thinking about Chaol, so this is Celaena thinking about Chaol, quote, he'd known the king wanted to question Nehemia. He'd known that the king, and then she kind of cuts off. As a writer, is this enough of an incentive to think that the king would have openly killed her? Because saying like he knew the king wanted to question her almost implies like he knew the king wanted to kill her. I don't think that wanting to question her is like an obvious thing for wants to kill her because of how public of a figure Nehemia is.
I don't think that I understand your point. I just don't think Celaena is logical when it comes to the king.
I'm not asking of Celaena, I'm asking of SJM.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I understand what you're saying. I think what I'm trying to say is Celaena is going to interpret anything the king says he's going to do as having malicious intent.
Mm-hmm.
Chaol did not interpret questioning Nehemia as having malicious intent. And in Celaena's mind, she's like, how could you not know he has malicious intent, right? Whether she's right or wrong, she's always going to make that leap because she's irrational when it comes to him because of her experience.
Unless it happens again in a later book and I just forgot. I needed that conversation from them in order for this to make sense for me and to have like a closed out moment. You know, like I like what you just said there of, you know, Chaol being like, hey, he's the king questioning a princess. It's no big deal. Like, you know, it's fine. And then Celaena saying, you know, he's not a good man. He was always going to have malicious intent. That's a fair conversation that I think needed to happen. It could have happened in this book. It could have even just been logical. Like, even if she just at one point, not now, right now it's fresh, she's in the dungeon, but at one point to just be like, okay, yeah, I get that it might, you know, for Chaol, it was no big deal, but he should have known better. That's a good point, but that's not what SJM wrote. I think you fixed her. You made it better for her.
Okay.
So I'm thinking more about other moments, if they're earned. In general, quote, she'd been foolish enough to think that Chaol had put the final piece into place, foolish enough to think just for a moment that she could get away with being happy. So the part that I want to question here is I would have liked more moments of Celaena struggling to choose to be happy from Sam, of moving past the trauma of Sam. And there's a few moments where she does think about Sam. Like there's a few points where, like we know that it still impacts her. But I would have liked more signs in this book in general of I'm trying to figure out how to say it, like letting Sam go, letting Chaol take that role of Sam, because right
Yeah.
now, like that sentiment, like, sorry, I thought I could be happy. I thought I could get away with everything. Like all of this could be good. It feels more bitter towards all of Sam and everything versus Chaol. I really would have liked them to. I think SJM did a good job of making Celaena and Chaol's relationship their own, like so much their own,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I needed more, maybe a couple more moments where she does see Chaol as Sam earlier in the book.
Yeah, so I always took this to be associated with the conversation that Celaena and Nehemia have
Mm.
right before their fight.
Mhm.
And Celaena thinks for the first time in 10 years, she felt happy.
Mhm.
And so for me, the get away with being happy was more about the existential,
Yeah.
I can be happy in a world without Terrazin and my
Yeah.
parents and be with this man. So that I guess that's how I took
Yeah.
it.
I don't know. I think this is one of those moments where I was just writing, not really thinking of that quote specifically, to be honest. But like, because
Yeah,
in
that's fair.
general,
That's fair.
I was frantically trying to finish notes before we started live. Uh, but in general, I think I would have liked more comparison of the two. I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
TBD.
I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. Or I think it's a valid thought.
Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't think about Sam in this
Yeah.
moment, I
No, that's
guess,
fair.
is all I'm trying
Yeah.
to say. Now, Celaena is not in a good headspace. And if you're reading closely, everything is signaling that. When she is thinking about Chaol, Celaena thinks, quote, he was so stupidly honorable and loyal. So this is her thinking about how she thinks he'd know the king wanted to question Nehemia. And she's like, well, he's so stupidly honorable and loyal, he would never have told me. And it's important that we're seeing this, that she's now seeing his honorable nature, his loyalty as bad, because these were traits that inspired her previously. That's what made her think that he was a good man, that there could be a court like Terrazin because of people like Chaol. But now it's his fatal flaw. Now it's something that is stupid and causes the death of Nehemia, and that can't be undone.
Okay, so we now get the part where I was questioning, like, hey, I just need her to say, it's not like Chaol should have known that it wasn't about, Chaol he should have known that it had anything to do with anything.
Yeah.
It makes the reveal that Archer set them up feel less impactful.
Yeah.
Does that?
I'm
struggling with that too. So part of my struggle with all of this is knowing that at the end of the book, it's going to be like Archer's like, I set up Chaol the whole time.
I honestly forgot that Archer was that Machiavellian, to be honest.
Yeah. This right here is answering my question of I just needed Celaena to have that moment of being like, okay, yes, questioning isn't that bad. However, Chaol should have known better. Yeah. All of that can be true. But then that last bit, because she starts to forgive Chaol at the very end, and then Chaol sees her Fae form, and then that's kind of like the final nail in the coffin, because when Archer reveals, like, I set it up the whole time, and then she goes, oh my God, you made me try to think that Chaol was a bad guy, but at the same time, I'm not seeing that connection very well done here.
Yeah. I don't know that Archer needed, so this is a conversation we'll probably have towards the end of the book, but I don't know that Archer needed to be Machiavellian for this. I felt like Chaol was true to who he was. She was true to who she was. And ultimately, it just doesn't work.
It would have been a greater, again, I'm still caught on like because Archer, when we get to that point, we'll get to that point. Because Archer says, like, at a certain point, Nehemia stopped trusting him, and then he kind of they had to start doing their own thing. But again, how the hell did they know that she had to be questioned? And that was the night to take Chaol, which implies Nehemia had to be involved at some point. And then, so would have it been a greater reveal at the very end to be like, well, Nehemia wanted Chaol taken? You know what I mean? It's, as someone who has experienced a fair amount of loss, when I wrote it, I was like, not many. And I started counting. I'm like, all right, a fair amount of loss. I get stuck with this quote that Nehemia had been here on this earth, and she had been all that was good and brave and wonderful. This is very common when someone dies. You are going to idolize them. You are going to think only the most wonderful, positive thoughts about them at first. And that's normal. My other struggle is that with grief and time, and again, like, she's still in the dungeon, so we're not there yet, but through grief and time, you kind of have to remind yourself of like who they were. And I don't think that's, you're not like putting them down, but I think it's part of coming to terms when you're grieving someone is grieving all of the good, but also all of the bad, and just like who they actually were as a person. And I don't remember Celaena ever coming to that realization, because Nehemia is not all that was good and wonderful in the world, and she is putting her up on a pedestal right now, which is normal.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. This is somewhere I struggled as well and didn't feel like it was earned, because again, Nehemia wasn't wonderful. No. Maybe she was brave in fighting for her people. She was never very nice.
No.
So at least through what we've seen through Celaena's eyes in this book so far and in Throne of Glass, I don't know that that fits the description. However, I do understand idolizing the dead and rewriting history, as you've said, Jac. I will also say, from my life experience, I have seen how traumatized family members can easily rewrite their past because they're just alone. And therefore, it's easy to miss an awful person and only remember positive things about them, which I also don't understand. But I think we're just healthier people, right? Celaena is a traumatized person who probably has never had a healthy relationship ever. She had healthiness with Chaol for this amount of time compared to, and even then that was questionable compared to the rest of her relationships. And like I said, everyone who dies always goes back to her parents. And as we learn about her parents, I don't think we ever learn anything bad about them.
Yeah.
And if her parents are perfect and everyone like Sam and Nehemia are equivalent to her parents who also died, it's easy to see how she idolizes these people and then never takes them off that pedestal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Something you said kind of reminded me of when we were reviewing Powerless, when we did our book club analysis of it. And we said something in that episode, I can't remember that character's name again, but we were saying that she was only capable of letting one person in at a time.
Oh, Payton.
She was only able to emotionally let someone in one person at a time. Yeah. And I'm wondering if there's a certain level to that here as well, where, think about Celaena's time as an assassin. She couldn't really let people get in that close. Sam was different, right? And she's experienced tons of betrayal, but, you come out of her different levels of trauma, and I think she thinks that she was a lot closer to Nehemia. And I think in book 1 she was, because she trusted her with more things. But then in book 2, she trusted Chaol with more things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know what point I was making, but I thought it. There's a moment of camaraderie between Celaena and Kaltain, and I find this to be a far better bonding moment than Celaena giving Kaltain the cloak. "If they let you out," Kaltain said, both of them staring into the blackness of their prisons, "make sure that they're punished someday. Every last one of them." Celaena listened to her own breathing, felt Chaol's blood under her nails, and the blood of all those men she'd hacked down, and the coldness of Nehemia's room, where all that gore had soaked the bed. They will be. That's girlhood. That's bonding. That's
I'll get revenge for you. Don't worry.
Little bonds,
Yeah.
But again, I kind of want to look into going back to this meaning of nails, and they were claws before, they're cracked. And right now, all of her nails are filled with just blood, with men's blood currently. Because, her claws, they're contained right now, but her bloody man claws or man blood claws are going to
man
killing claws will come out later. But it just shows more about how women are imprisoned and murdered, while in the patriarchal world, the actual murderers and the ones who are doing everything wrong are not in the prison.
Yep. That's a great point. Yeah. Before the end of the scene, Celaena thinks, quote, her body didn't feel quite like hers when she pulled the tray of food toward her, the metal scraping against the old, damp stones. She wasn't even hungry. Celaena Sardothien is always hungry. It's part of her characterization. It's part of her identity. And yes, it is a symptom of depression. But, in the grand context of what is happening, what Celaena's going through right now, it's also just a clue of how she is spiraling.
I have this memory of like the months of like post breakup, grandparent dying, and I was like so sad. And you're like, we should get some food. And I was like, I'm not hungry. And I just had this moment. I could see like the concern in your eyes of like, she's not hungry again.
Yeah. At some point this has to end.
And it did. Don't worry. And I gained weight, but now we've lost that. But but it was just like, I have like, it's funny in retrospect of just be like, I'm not hungry. And that like, just, I could see the words and like it flashed before your eyes. Like, she's not hungry again. This isn't good. We are in Chaol's point of view, and the reality of who the king is and what kind of man he really is starting to hit home. Quote, it had taken a surprising amount of self-control for Chaol to not throttle his own sovereign. It's, his loyalty is being tested. He's trying to not lose it, because at this point, Chaol is trying to get him to be, feel bad about Nehemia dying in general, and the king just does not give a fuck. And it's still not enough for him to leave the king. It's still not enough for him to be like, you know what? You do suck.
Yes. However, we also have to remember Chaol has literally nothing other than his role serving the king, right? And this is what's going to make finding out about Celaena's will later all the more tragic, because maybe if he had known sooner, his actions would be different. But right now, he has nothing but his loyalty to the king, which ensures his lifestyle, his comfort, and, this role that is his entire identity.
And the kings didn't do it. The king did not have her murdered. He just is not very empathetic.
Happy. Yeah. Right. He's just like smarmy about it.
It's right now, it's not enough to be, I'm going to leave you.
Right. And I think the fact that Chaol is so upset with the king, even though he doesn't leave him, it's still a reminder that Chaol didn't do this intentionally. And we're going to see how Chaol feels guilty and how he's mad at himself. Chaol's not happy that Nehemia is dead. He doesn't think that what happened is a good thing, where the king is like, hey, she's dead. I don't have to do it myself. And it's little things like this. Yes, could Chaol have done more? Sure. But it's difficult for me to hate him and understand the hate towards him when he is just a human trying to deprogram himself.
A fair amount of people have commented recently saying that the hate comes in at Shadow Queen. What's that one called? Is it called Shadow Queen?
Queen of Shadows. Oh, really?
A number of people have commented, yeah, I didn't hate him until Queen of Shadows. And now I'm like, what happens?
I don't remember.
I don't know. Well, I don't even know when that what book that is. Is it after Heir of Fire?
Yeah, it's Heir of Fire, Assassin's Blade, and then Queen of Shadows is chronologically right after Heir of Fire.
Wow. Yeah. So people are saying that's the one that they lose it with him.
Okay. Well, I guess we wait and see.
So far, no hate. We reserve the right to hate.
Yeah.
Chaol is instructed to get Celaena, quote, in line. And it's just another moment, right? That she is but an animal. She is meant to be in controlled, and it is meant to be a man to be her tamer, to control her. So just these little things that show the king is just a super good guy, you know? Chaol is really struggling with Nehemia's death, but in different ways. I think it really challenges him on every front of his own being. Quote, "It had been days since he dared look in the mirror. Even if it hadn't been the king who'd ordered Nehemia dead, if Chaol had warned Celaena about the unknown threat, at least she would have been looking out. If he'd warned Nehemia, her men would have been on alert too. Sometimes the reality of his decision hit him so hard he couldn't breathe. He followed orders. He followed what he was told, his vow, but not his honor. And honor would have told him, like, hey, maybe we should give everyone a heads up here."
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great point.
Chaol carries Celaena into her room, and Philippa is the one to give her a bath. Quote, "Philippa was already waiting, beckoning him to the bathing chamber. He hadn't even thought of that Celaena might need to be cleaned before getting into bed. And I would like to point out that it is not Celaena, but Philippa bathing her, because we've talked before about how bathing is very much a baptismal cleansing of sins type of affair. And it is not Celaena who's giving herself the bath, so she is not currently forgiving herself. We are in chapter 32. Super short. Again, as someone who has lost people, there is a danger to idolizing the dead. Quote, "Celaena had adored Nehemia from the moment she laid eyes on her, like they were twin souls who had at last found each other, a soul friend, and now she was gone." And this is a moment where I understand disproportionately remembering a situation, idolizing the dead. I really don't think they were anywhere near this type of friendship for her to be that delulu.
I completely agree. Let's also remember that they met each other and they connected because they both disliked Kaltain.
Yep.
So, A, not okay. B, as we're going through this episode and we're saying what we're saying about how Celaena idolizes Nehemia, it makes you question how much Celaena idolized Sam post-death, which, you know, without spoiling Assassin's Blade, I would say is definitely, there's a case for it.
I agree entirely. It's how we say that Dorian doesn't fall in love with Celaena until she breaks up with him. No matter what he says, but it feels like it's very much like, now that they're gone, he really he's like, wait, I do want to be with you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that you make a good case of that. We start chapter 33, and we are completely removed from Celaena and everyone. Instead, we are with a random girl who is a slave at the mines, and she is with all the other people when they find out about Nehemia's death. And I think SJM does a really good job in this series of getting us these wonderful emotional moments in scenes, in chapters with characters that we're never going to see again.
I agree. It's a lot like the Raina Goldsmith scene, which I think you also reference at the end of your notes, but it kills me every time.
Yeah.
Like, it really, you know, where I can't believe the emotions of Celaena.
Yes.
The emotions that Raina Goldsmith and this slave woman bring are like, those are the heavy hitters for me. Those are what make this book memorable.
Yeah. I called her a girl because that's what the book called her. I just want to say that.
Yes. I have a hard time telling if she's a girl or not.
Oh, another moment that SJM does this really well, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but there is an orchestra that SJM talks about, and that is a audio that I hear all the time on TikTok. She does a really good job. So this is her absolute. I think she gets to lay it on thick, and it works because it's such a short amount of time.
Yep.
SJM is able to give us just enough details to connect with these characters. Again, she does that all the time with each one. Quote, "She had been in the mines for 6 months, longer than anyone else had survived," she'd been told. that reminds me of Celaena, right? And especially after the 6 months is when she tried to make her escape, I think. But we know that Celaena was in the mines for a year, and that was longer than anyone else. So immediately when I read that, I was like, this girl's just like our Celaena, which then makes us connected to her emotionally. Then you have this moment, quote, "She would make it, then bury her dead, and when the mourning months were over, she would find the nearest rebel group and join them." This is almost what Celaena's supposed to be, right? Like, we're getting these connections of, okay, so this girl's been in the mines longer than anyone else. Well, that was just like Celaena, and she's determined, and she's going to come out here and be a rebel, right? Well, that's what Celaena was supposed to do.
Yeah. I love that you're pointing out the Celaena connections because, like you said, SJM's laying it on thick to make us connect with this girl. And then she also layers it on through imagery to help us empathize with her as well. Quote, "She swung her pickaxe into that unforgiving wall of stone, her breath ragged in her parched throat. The overseer lounged against a nearby wall, sloshing water in his canteen. There is so much cruelty in the juxtaposition of the girl's parched throat and the sloshing water being rubbed in her face, right? In my mind, it's an open canteen and the water spilling over the side onto the ground. Like, it's wasteful.
Yeah.
So let's keep the water imagery going. A ripple of stillness followed by wails. She felt it coming, swelling up toward her, closer and closer with each turned head and murmured words. And then she heard it, the words that changed everything. The words were past her before she had time to swallow them. Just like the water in the guard's canteen, the news of Nehemia's death is like water. It ripples, it swells like a wave, and then it rushes past her and she can't even swallow it. She remains parched. Here, water is symbolic not only of life, but also hope and freedom. And the slave girl's thirst is never sated, neither by water nor by freedom via Nehemia. And so ultimately, it is better for her to choose her fate than to die from that lack of water or freedom.
Ooh, you really were feeling yourself.
I really was.
Good job. And then we get this last moment, which reminds us of Raina Goldsmith. Quote, "Silently, she began to recite the names of her dead." And this is when she goes, this young woman goes out in the blaze of glory and starts, going, attacking the guards, knowing that she's going to die, but she's going to die while thinking of the ones that she loves. So,
yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, just like Raina. And again, to your point earlier, just like Celaena.
Yep. Finally, we are in chapter 34, and I like how chapter 34 starts quite a bit. Quote, "Rez's eyes grew wary as they took in the healing cuts that ran down Chaol's cheek. 2 had already scabbed and would fade, but there was a long, surprising deep one that was still tender. Chaol wondered whether it would scar. He deserved it if it did." So at this point, a fair amount of paragraphs had passed of Rez talking to someone. We don't know who he's talking to. We can kind of guess who it is. And it isn't until this moment when Chaol is thinking about his own cheek that we get the identifier that it is Chaol, which shows that he wants to be, like, he's almost so ashamed of himself that he can't even put himself there unless it's with the markers of the cuts on his cheek, which he hopes will scar. And good news, Celaena hopes the same thing. So, twinsies.
Yeah, and they're back in sync.
Yeah.
He knows he deserves the scar, the pain, or the reminder of his failure. He's self-aware. He wants it to scar, just like Celaena wants it to scar. So, like, they started connected in tandem. They grew apart, but like ultimately, they think the same.
Yeah,
they are the same person. Sometimes.
I mean, it's kind of like when we talk about Farah and Tamlin. They were into each other for a reason, unfortunately, guys. If you don't know what we're talking about, go listen to our Court of Thorns and Roses season and all the other seasons. But it's, like they had valid reasons to be into one another. There was a connection.
Yeah.
We are now in Dorian's perspective, and he's reflecting on how his cousin Roland has really been there for him. Quote, Roland seconded Dorian's proposal that they should publicly apologize to Nehemia's parents for her death. His father had exploded when Dorian suggested that, but Dorian had still written her parents a message expressing his deepest condolences. His father could go to hell for all he cared. Celaena said that Nehemia's death would inspire Celaena, and they were at one point, they're like, all right, who are we going to choose? Who do we want to traumatize? One or the other. We got options. And they're like, all right, well, Celaena's more ready to be traumatized. And I think that Nehemia's death is really getting a 2-for-1 deal for Celaena. And again, I kind of wonder how much of that was Celaena's own mastermind being there, right? Like how much of it is Celaena telling Nehemia, hey, go get close to Dorian because, exit strategy, we're going to need you to kill yourself and we're going to have to traumatize these people around you. So if you can go and make a connection to one of the people that we'll have to traumatize, that would be great.
Yeah. Love your point. I completely agree with you. And this is where the tragedy lies. I know Celaena's been dead for 1,000 years? All you had to do was wait 6 more months, lady. Like, Celaena was already on her way to being like, you know what? Terracin was good. Maybe we could have Terracin again. And honestly, as soon as Dorian meets Sorsha in Heir of Fire, that leads to him breaking eventually. Yeah. Both of them were going to break and or figure it out. She did not need to cause her trauma. She didn't need to stir the pot. Just like stop.
And that's where it's like, is there a timeline that they needed to move before the king could move? Yeah, there's like, I get some of that, but some of the tragedy really is how much Celaena decided to stir shit up. And I just wish there was more, maybe in future books that, again, parts that I don't remember, there is a reflection of like, hey, maybe the dead should just have left everything the fuck alone.
Yeah. Maybe things will work out.
I mean, that's always risky, but here's hoping.
Just wait 1,000 more years and somebody else will figure it out.
We're into Dorian's perspective and he's reflecting about how he stopped Celaena before killing Chaol. Quote, he just known that the woman he'd loved was about to kill his oldest friend over a misunderstanding. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we're back to admitting that you're in love with Celaena. Amazing how closing your eyes didn't really work. And I see what you're about to say, but it just.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because when you read the quote, I was like, it's the California in us. We don't pronounce our D's. He'd loved, as in he had loved. But, but I will say when I read that same line, I did also think the same thing of like, so you do still love her. And then I was like, oh, no. He had loved her. Got it.
I'm not happy about it. I don't know. I'm not, no. I have nothing. Okay. No, you're right. But no.
But she doesn't like it.
No, I just, no, you're right. I still am disappointed in him. That's all.
Yeah, you can be as disappointed as you want to be. I
don't want to be anything other than what I've been lately. If you get to sing a song, I get to sing a song. He's bouncing off my booty cheeks.
So I was watching the edit for episode 3, the video edit, but I had it on 1.7 speed.
Oh my God.
And listening to us sing.
I don't want to be anything other than what I've been trying to be lately.
It's so funny.
Editor, you can keep that tangent in. Dorian thinks about the loss of Nehemia and what that means to him. Quote, Nehemia had once promised to be there when he'd needed help. When some power in him awoke, she'd had known. Had her assassin in killing Nehemia also killed any hope he had in finding answers? If her assassin is Celaena, then yeah. Then I think yes.
Yeah, because Celaena was like, he doesn't need a break yet.
I think, what if we could have helped him? What if we delayed you dying by a day? You helped him a little bit, and then the next 4 books he doesn't have to go through as much shit as he does.
Oh, man. Yeah, poor poor Dorian.
We're now with Celaena again, and she's not doing great. She's been sitting at her chair. She's just staring out the window, but she's focused again. Quote, she had bathed once, long enough to wash her hair, and Philippa had watched the whole time to make sure she didn't drown herself instead. Absolutely not baptismal. Absolutely not cleansing of sins. So it's, even in the moments where she is bathing herself, it's not a relieving moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And on that note, breadcrumbs and broomsticks.
In chapter 27, while Chaol is chained up in the warehouse with the rebels, he sees, quote, one of them, tall with 2 swords crossed over his back, approached. Now there's a lot of the man with the 2 swords, the man with the 2 swords, the man with the 2 swords, which is seared into our brain because it's also used in Heir of Fire when Chaol approaches the rebels again, and we find out this man is Ren Allsbrook, a noble from Terrasen.
Really helps when we know what's going on in the next book.
I actually did remember that. I didn't remember his name, but I remembered the significance of the 2 swords.
Oh, good job. In chapter 28, after Archer stops Celaena from killing everyone in the warehouse, Celaena notices, quote, the old man had exposed his face to her, was staring with a mixture of awe and disbelief. This is Ren's grandfather. I'm not going to say his name.
Murtaugh.
That's the one. Another nobleman from Terrasen. Does he recognize Celaena? Maybe. We don't remember.
In chapter 31, Dorian thinks back on when he used his magic to save Chaol from Celaena. Quote, he used his power to stop Celaena's hand before she stabbed Chaol, and that no one except Celaena had noticed. And when she'd hissed at him, he'd seen something so savage in her eyes that he shuddered. The big old fake clue.
Yeah. Again, no one really noticed that she looked at me and hissed. How dumb is everyone that they're not paying attention to the one person that they're trying to pay attention to? In chapter 31, still, Chaol tells Dorian about Celaena trying to save Nehemia. Quote, I've never seen anyone run that fast. Dorian, it was like, Chaol shook his head. I found a horse within seconds of her taking off, and she outran me. Who could do that? Fake clue, fake clue, fake clue. Now for broomsticks. All right. We asked our listeners a question, and we were like, were Celaena and Nehemia actually close friends? And we got a lot of responses. I'm going to have to delete it once we're done because we're going to keep getting more.
To be kind, it was a means to an end for Nehemia. To be blunt, it was a parasitic relationship.
No, they were at best overattached coworkers with a trauma bond.
No, it never really rang true for me and felt more like a plot device than actual friendship. Truth.
No, I know, right? Nehemia approached Celaena as a queen, not as a friend. Celaena was a mission.
So true. I don't know. Maybe for Celaena, but Nehemia always had an ulterior motive for getting close to her.
I believe it was one-sided friendship, but Nehemia did have love for her.
No, but Celaena never had a female friend before, so it felt closer, like a Chaol than Rowan switch.
Fair.
Or Stitch.
Yeah. Not as close as SJM wants us to think they really are. Honestly, I never really liked Nehemia.
No, both kept secrets that kept them from being their authentic selves with each other.
I don't actually think so. Nehemia never confided in Celaena or trusted her.
No, Nehemia was trying to pull her from being Celaena to Aelin and her true purpose.
This is one of my favorite comments. You two are asking life or death questions this season. Oh, someone made a good point. No, it was an imbalanced power dynamic.
Oh, good point.
That I hadn't even thought of that one. Good job, Kenny. Wow.
Oh, here's a good one. No, because their dynamic was uneven. Nehemia knew more and didn't tell Celaena. Celaena idolized Nehemia because Nehemia didn't abandon her people. In Celaena's eyes. Someone said, not as close as Amy and Jac.
Oh, God, I hope so. Someone said, I imagine SJM wanted us to trust and believe they were. Unfortunately, it was to us not shown through many genre or genuine or hurtful moments based on how Celaena reacts to her death. Chaol betrayal aside, we might assume that Nehemia was meant as much to Celaena as someone like Chaol at this point in the story. What's most believable, though, is that Nehemia, by way of female friendship, was all Celaena ever had, emphasized had ever. So maybe they were close to one another by default. Didn't Fleetfoot really love Nehemia? That must mean something, right?
I think they both wanted to be, but neither knew how to be a friend.
They both knew each other for like 7 minutes, and they were just the only other person they had to talk to.
So true.
I mean, I don't think people talk enough about like friendship of convenience, unfortunately, when they're kind of like all you have and you're like, all right, well, we're hanging out.
Friendship of convenience is like your entire high school experience.
And you don't even realize that it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, a good amount of your 20s is also it that too. And sometimes it grows into more.
Or sometimes 15 years later, it's still a friendship of convenience.
I was thinking about when I lived in the UK and I didn't have any family and my friends were the only people I had. So I had to really build out a network, because if you're busy and my other friends are busy, like I'm fine. I can go do my own thing. If if I want to spend time with someone, I really can.
Yeah.
And if I really want to spend time, I can like, Mom, I'm flying out. And she would be like, thank God.
Yeah.
But like in London, I definitely had to build out a network so that, and I'm fine being alone, but those moments, and there were a fair amount of convenience friends, which is unfortunate. But I was their convenience friend too. And then one of them messaged being like, can I be on the podcast? And then I never wrote back. God, I hope she doesn't listen.
Okay.
No, because I want people to know that it's okay. Like, I wasn't mean. Like, friendship doesn't have to mean forever with some people. Yeah. Some people it is, and some people
it's a season.
It's a season. And some people are told that they have assignments to come up with secret handshakes before the next 15 years of friendship.
And I shortened it to 5.
All right. So that's on you.
We can't procrastinate.
I gave us leeway. You said 5 years. But, and I think there's like this idea with Celaena too, that comes with youth of, you make a friend, you assume it's going to be for life. Yeah. And just because friends come and go sometimes, that does not make you a bad person. Just because, they don't stick around forever doesn't make you bad in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If we think that the fallout of Nehemia's death is not earned, or anything else around this moment is not earned, how would you change it?
I mean, I feel like you have to start over with Throne of Glass, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because Nehemia is a plot device from the beginning.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to.
And that's really what it is, right? If the fallout needed to be genuine, I mean, I think there's something to be said about the idolization of the dead, right? I do think that is within the realm of possibility. But I think the gravity with which Celaena attaches the rest of her decisions for the rest of the series to this turning point, it's not about Nehemia. It's about her parents. And that connection needed to be emphasized more. I think that's the only way you could have salvaged it.
Yeah.
If you had already published Throne of Glass and your editor was like, I'm not believing this, right? Yeah. You would have to really emphasize the parent factor, I think.
And turn her into a character. Like, you can still have Nehemia be a plot device, which we hate. We hate that the one woman of color has been instructed by a white woman to sacrifice herself in order to progress the other white woman's, journey and story. All of that is wrong. If you're going to do that, and let's, pretend that someone else is diverse here so that it doesn't come down to that. But if you're going to have Nehemia not be a plot device or still be a plot device, add that depth to her. Have Nehemia realize that she does like Celaena and her friendship.
You actually know what I would have
Hmm.
changed? I actually would have changed. One thing that really bothers me is how Machiavellian Archer
Yeah.
is, because we also have Alina and Nehemia doing Machiavellian things
Yeah.
on this other side. I would have said pick one, and I would have said make the white man
Yeah.
the bad guy. And don't make Nehemia and Elena so manipulative.
Yeah.
That's Archer's not believable because the reveal is at the end after we've had so much manipulation already from Elena and Nehemia. I would have made Nehemia and Elena less manipulative. And Nehemia a victim of circumstance, and Archer rather than of a dead white woman.
It would have been good if we had a moment of Nehemia and Elena, and maybe this would have been like a spoiler for them, but rather than Elena being like, all right, girl, go kill yourself off, it might have been a conversation between the princess and the queen saying, the princess saying, I give Celaena more time. She will come around to this. I can see her changing. And if that conversation, like, you can still show that they were working together, but have Nehemia plea to Elena saying like for more time, saying like, look, she's coming to this. I know she's changing. And then Elena being like, okay, we'll give her time. She's found joy, something, right? And then Archer, and then everything could still have played out the way that it is, right? And then maybe Archer really did get Nehemia killed, and Nehemia's death does happen, and all of it still plays out, and there's still the quote unquote Chaol betrayal. But at least to your point, it would have been Archer who would have fucked it up, and you could still get the betrayal that Nehemia was working with Elena.
It all would have. It would it's such a small change, but it would have made such a big difference
for the long term of everything. And that one moment, even if like you could have every single conversation be the exact same way, but in that one moment, if you had Nehemia defending and trying to say she's happy, please, I think she can come around to this happiness is making her, realize it. That one thing would have made me say, she does care about Celaena.
I would also like to point out that one thing is one chapter that's only this long.
Yeah.
It is the smallest fucking edit in the world. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. There's too many evil people working against her, and it's hard for me to then say, yes, Celaena, go on this journey and do what Elena needs you to do. And it makes me resent the whole thing from here on out. And it makes me almost be like, Celaena, I need you to be more resentful from here on out.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't think anyone's resentful enough. From what I remember. Maybe they are.
Yeah.
But I think you make a good point. That at the end of the day is what was wrong. You could have walked away with hitting all the things you needed to hit. Yep. Make the man be the ultimate manipulative one. And still have everything play out.
Yep.
Hey, we fixed it.
I mean, it still is fundamentally bad.
Yeah, no, it's still bad.
Not bad.
No, it's still, you can still have all the bad things, SJM, that you wanted of having Nehemia be controlled, because it would still be Elena telling Nehemia, hey, I need you to go meet Celaena, and I need you to go orchestrate things.
Right. It would still be killing off the woman of color. Like, it would still be bad.
Yeah.
But it would be marginally improved.
Yeah, just a smidge. At least it'd be improved in the sense I could believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Well, we'll send this to SJM for whenever she decides to rewrite the series.
And never listen to us again.
We're on a blacklist, I'm sure, of
100
a long time ago of things that she will never, if she doesn't know about us, her people do. And they will never tell her. Although, watch, I'm going to hear me now, guys. Here's my Machiavellian. You want Elena level shit, SJM? I'll do Elena level shit. I'm going to have my book series, my romantasy book series, become so big that someone's going to ask you to do a little snippet of, SJM read this book and said blah, blah, blah. And then it's going to be like, oh, a talk with the authors. And I'm going to work my way up until finally I get to sit there and did a podcast about you. And reveal my mask underneath. It was me the whole time. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy. Next week, we'll be exploring chapters 35 through 38 of Crown of Midnight.
We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. We would also love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. You can submit your comments to our forum at booktalkforbooktalk.com for a chance to have your feedback discussed during a future mini episode or a Patreon exclusive episode.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle BookTalk for Book Talk. Bye.
Bye.